the angry streets of Los Angeles to the most sacred ground in Jerusalem. Rage and hate fan the flames of violence. It can happen when one naked man punches out a policewoman, or an angry mob takes on an entire force. Modern-day science is used to control the rage, but no one is safe. When anger ignites, a riot rampage. Philadelphia Phillies fans are sky high. But this celebration is about to take a hard hit. The Phillies win the World Series after a 28-year drought. And fans like Diana Aboud are jubilant.
I was born in 1982, so my entire life we never seen a Philly team win the big games.
Diana shows up early at the ballpark to tailgate before the game, but afterward, she and her friend Ryan Dunn see a darker side of the celebration. At an intersection near the stadium, a man in a mohawk climbs a 30-foot signal pole.
And then out of nowhere, it looked like maybe a big water bottle or a big bottle of liquor just struck him square in the head.
Downtown, fans clog the streets by the thousands.
Anything that could be climbed pretty much was climbed.
They tear down street signs, start fires, turn over a car, and demolish a bus stop. The victory celebration explodes into a full-blown riot. Alice Najimi studies mob behavior following sporting events. She says there are primal biochemical and social forces at work.
There's all these factors. Your adrenaline is flowing. You're in a crowd. There's certain anonymity in a crowd. The crowd will cheer you on. They'll egg you on.
As the night wears on, the violence intensifies. Looters break into a luggage shop and help themselves. Temple University broadcasting major Patrick Rosenbaum trains his video camera on police as they move in to put an end to it.
They just started beating some students off of where they were sitting or even off the streets because they had to make their presence felt.
Before it's over, 76 people are arrested, and Philly's big moment is marred by violence. In Los Angeles, smoke fills the air as a road rage riot erupts between total strangers. Tires squeal as one driver tries to push the other into the middle of a busy intersection. Then, when the driver in the back suddenly pulls away, disaster. 30-year-old Taiwan Barton is run over, first by the front wheels, then by the rear wheels of the 3,000-pound car. Just seconds before, Taiwan climbed out of the passenger seat of the smaller car, confronted the driver who rear-ended them, then called 911 from the curb. But now, help may be too late.
Call the police!
Cameraman Clarence Taylor is shooting an interview only a few yards away when it all happens right in front of him.
His body was crumpled. I knew he was dead or would be dead shortly. The way that the car just crushed him, nobody could survive that type of incident.
Get him out of there.
Bystanders charge the driver and fight to take away his keys.
Get the keys, get the keys.
Open the door, open the door, open the door.
He going to jail, man.
Open up, man.
Taiwan's girlfriend Diana Chu is behind the wheel of the car in front, She is in shock.
I couldn't see anything because all I could see was I was surrounded with smoke. Like I felt like I was in the middle of a cloud. I just thought Taiwan was still at the sidewalk, standing there waiting for the cops. When I got out of the car and I saw him on the front lawn, I didn't know he was alive or dead. He just looked like a bloody rag doll. I didn't know if he was alive, and I was very emotional. I was in shock, actually.
Taiwan looks seriously injured, or worse. But when help arrives, they find him conscious and with no life-threatening injuries. He has second-degree burns on his legs from the spinning tires, and he's in a lot of pain, but he will fully recover.
Last thing I thought was to run. From that point on, everything went blank. I did not feel the car actually run over me. The only thing that car did not hit was my head.
Police believe the suspect is under the influence of drugs and alcohol. He is arrested and taken into custody. Taiwan says he's just happy to be alive and doesn't hold a grudge.
I forgive him because that's what God tells me to do, is to forgive him.
Police officer Jamie Hager responds to a 911 call at a local daycare center. The suspect has stripped and is trying to break into the daycare filled with children. Two women try to hold him back, but they're no match for the violent men, and Officer Hager has to act fast. She pulls out her taser gun and fires. The suspect falls to the ground, all of it caught on the dashboard camera of her patrol car.
I only got one tag on the ground. You get it, baby.
The taser gun fires two conductive wires, one negative and one positive, delivering 50,000 volts. Barbed electrodes at the ends of the wires fasten on the skin or clothing, causing uncontrollable muscle spasms. Officer Hager radios for backup and keeps the suspect under control with the taser. But as he crawls towards her, he pulls out one of the wires, rendering the taser useless.
Come on now.
The naked suspect heads for the door again.
Stop it.
Then turns on the female officer as she frantically calls again for backup. But it's too late. He slams Officer Hager in the head, knocking her to the ground. Then the crazed man goes for her gun. Moments later, a second officer arrives on the scene. His dashboard camera picks up the action as the suspect seems ready to surrender. Officer Hager is on her feet again, but now the suspect grabs a terrified woman holding a young child, using them as a shield. The woman wrestles her way free, but the man is still on a rampage. He is tasered by the second officer, but once again pulls out the wires as he runs back to the front door and tries to break it down. Motorcycle officer Amir Abdul Khalik arrives. He pulls out his taser and fires. This time, the suspect goes down and stays down.
Thank goodness that the prongs both stuck and kind of hit him in his lower back. The concern I had is obviously he'd already been taken once and it really wasn't that effective.
The suspect is cuffed and taken into custody. Officers believe he's high on PCP, a hallucinogen that often causes rage.
Dealing with someone on PCP is basically one of officers' worst nightmares.
Officer Hager suffers a mild concussion and bruising. She says she was trying to keep the suspect's attention on her and away from the innocent women and children.
Once he attacked me, it became different because now he was trying to get to my weapon. I knew if he got that weapon, kids in a daycare.
The suspect gets time behind bars. Officer Hager receives an award for valor. But her greatest reward is no one else is seriously hurt, especially the children.
Had to back up and arrive. I don't know if I'd be sitting here.
Coming up, a monk gets sucker punched on sacred ground. Then, a bus rate hike creates a riot. And later, a soccer game is blacked out, and cops are beaten by angry fans. Next, on Riot, Rampage.
It's the most revered spot in all of Christianity. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, built according to Christian tradition on the site of Jesus' resurrection. But on this day, it's hosting a turf war. Greek Orthodox monks are battling Armenian priests over who can enter the holiest part of the church. Israeli police try to break it up. Tom Powers is a guide at the church.
It's human nature. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. They want a part of the church. They want rights within the church.
For centuries, 6 Christian denominations have shared this huge complex of arches and shrines, but it hasn't always been peace and love.
They don't always talk to each other, and they don't always agree, and that's where these flashpoints occur.
The Armenians in the colored robes and pointy hoods are celebrating a holy day. Their procession takes them to the Edicule, the most sacred spot of all, a monument on the traditional spot of Christ's tomb. But the Greek monks in black won't let the Armenians enter without one of their people present.
They consider themselves the guardian of the Holy Sepulchre. The Armenians do not recognize this right.
Nobody knows who throws the first punch. But pretty soon, both sides are slugging it out. One Armenian priest actually sucker punches a Greek monk.
There were people flying through the air. There were people biting each other. There were people throwing punches. There were policemen with priests in a headlock.
Israeli cops and border patrol guards finally get the upper hand. 2 clergymen are arrested, and the people here pray it won't happen again.
It's a month of terror on the streets of Managua, Nicaragua in 2006. And innocent bus riders are in the middle of the violent nightmare. Rioting students are protesting the government's decision to raise bus rates by 15 cents a ride. They begin by hurling rocks at passing buses and smashing out windows. But as their rage escalates, so does the violence. They set fire to the buses, setting off dangerous explosions. They disable the engines. And fueled by the adrenaline of mob mentality, the enraged students try to flip the buses on their sides. Henry Dietz is a professor of Latin American studies.
You've got a bunch of burned out buses. You've got people thrown out of work who used to drive those buses. And the city is, was more paralyzed than ever because no one can get around. But you've also made it hard.
Nicaraguan riot police move in. They fire rubber bullets. And tear gas. In the end, 10 people are seriously injured. turned violent and deadly in Peru. It's November of 2008. Armed with only the power of their voices, demonstrators take to the streets. The government plans to build a massive waste treatment plant in the lush province of Huancayo. Protesters fear it will contaminate the region, but their peaceful opposition ends when a caravan of construction workers heads for the plant's site. Protesters try to block the roads with huge rows of timber, but cops dismantle the barricade. Now the protesters are inflamed. They take to the hills. Suddenly, government property and government workers become the target of vengeance. One by one, trucks are destroyed, rolled, set on fire. In the end, the government suspends its plans to build the plant, but 50 people are injured in the clash. 2 lose their lives. Rage erupts over race in a small town in Connecticut. Then, Hell's Angels open fire in a Vegas casino. And later, protesters blast police with propane on the streets of Korea. Next, on Riot, Rampage.
Tempers flare as protesters try to run a white supremacist group out of Wallingford, Connecticut. And it isn't long before the scene erupts into a full-scale fistfight.
All right, hey, it's not welcome in Connecticut.
News cameraman Frank Lowski is in the thick of it when the brawl breaks out in the crowd of over 200 people.
I just thought it was going to be a verbal argument. The next thing I remember was a punch actually came over top of me and hit somebody in the head.
White people who want to walk down the street at 12 midnight.
The supremacist group is in town for a rally in a local library.
Tolerated here, man. You gotta go home, man. We will not be silenced here today.
But there are not enough seats for everyone who shows up. And now, both sides fight to get into the building.
Due to the fire marshal, you can only fit so many people inside a specific room. Once it's filled, the rest of the people can't get inside. So now the rage is on.
24 police are here to keep the peace, but talking isn't calming the mob. Police resort to pepper spray guns to move the crowd back and away from the building. Several protesters are caught up in the action and sprayed.
Good job, buddy. Yeah, keep like it.
2 hours later, the rally inside is over. But the battle continues, and Frank Lowski has his story.
I was probably very, very close to danger and injury. Looking back on it now, I easily could have got hurt. They didn't care who I was.
You're not welcome anywhere.
200 members of the Mongols motorcycle gang believe they're safe and secure inside a resort in Laughlin, Nevada. But outside the hotel, the Mongols' bitter rivals are rolling into the parking lot. It's 40 Hells Angels looking to settle a score. Las Vegas Metro PD Sergeant Gary Hood is part of a special detail keeping an eye on the bikers.
We knew that the Hells Angels and the Mongols were having an ongoing feud that was escalating. And I knew that they weren't going in there to have a drink. There was going to be trouble.
Sergeant Hood calls for backup as surveillance cameras follow the mob of Hells Angels marching through the front door. The Angels go hunting for Mongols on the casino floor. This biker has a small bat in his hand. The Angels and Mongols come face to face near a casino bar. Suddenly, one Hells Angel buries his foot in a Mongol's chest. And a brawl erupts. The casino floor explodes into a battlefield. Fists and kicks fly. Then, lethal weapons. One Hells Angel whips out a knife and repeatedly stabs a Mongol. Another angel grabs a ball-peen hammer and starts swinging. And then, gunfire. There are still only 2 police officers on scene, including Sergeant Gary Hood, and they can't do anything without backup.
There's blood everywhere. People were running, screaming, trying to get out of the casino. It was like a war zone. There was numerous shots being fired. It was kind of hard to tell where they were exactly coming from.
And this Hell's Angel slams a rival Mongol in the skull with a steel wrench. Police show up in force within minutes, led by Commander Tom Smitley.
When we arrived, there were motorcycles leaving the property, one after another, until we could set up the perimeter and shut down the driveways. A few of the motorcycles were able to escape.
But many of the bikers can't get away.
I heard one of the officers arriving say, "Everybody get on the ground." And they started to prone out, and we started taking them into custody.
But in those few minutes it takes police backup to arrive, 2 Hell's Angels and 1 Mongol are dead. Many more have been stabbed, shot, or bludgeoned. Police run out of handcuffs, arresting more than 100 bikers. 14 guns, 107 knives, 2 hammers, and 2 wrenches are recovered. On a night of biker war turns a casino into a shooting gallery.
It's March of 1993. 250 inmates fill the prison auditorium at Connecticut's Cheshire Correctional. A fight breaks out between 2 groups of Muslims over religious beliefs. Prison guards roll tape from 2 different angles as the prisoners go at it. Michael Minnie led the Correctional Officers Union at the time.
During the early 1990s, Connecticut correctional system was considered the most volatile system in the country.
Prison guards are sorely outnumbered as they try to get control of the raging inmates. And now, the guards are under attack too.
We were being assaulted at the tune of over 900 assaults in that 1 year.
One guard, with his face bloodied, grabs a chair for protection. The prisoners are armed with makeshift weapons meant to do serious injury.
Razor blades, either melted or taped into a piece of plastic. One of the most dangerous ones, however, is the plexiglass shank. Easy to get through any kind of metal detector. And this was one of the favorites of the inmates.
In the end, 13 guards and 1 inmate are injured. 14 prisoners are slapped with criminal charges.
Up next, a soccer star is stripped and punches fly on the field. Then, fire in the stands. A police officer is torched with a flare, then fires back. And later, mayhem, as a woman gets trampled at a shopping mall. Next, on Riot, Rampage.
Victory breeds Bedlam in Minneapolis. April 12th, 2003. The Golden Gophers of the University of Minnesota have clinched the NCAA Hockey Championship for the 2nd year in a row. Initially, the celebration is orderly.
We're here to show our support for the Gophers.
But in minutes, revelry turns to chaos. Fans quickly flood intersections, bringing traffic to a standstill.
Clear the intersection. Clear it now.
Only 2 cops are on scene to handle a frenzied crowd of 1,000. Traffic lights become tetherballs to crazed revelers to be passed around like the spoils of war.
This is insane!
Then come the fires. There are dozens of them.
We're just setting on fire now. I don't even know what is going on. These things are getting out of control.
One man places a lit flare inside a car, while 2 others are on top of it. In seconds, it's a ball of fire. The once joyous fans are even turning on each other. The riot police are called in.
The police are coming! The riot police!
They march in lines 15 to 20 across.
You're given a lawful order to clear the intersection, clear it down.
The crowd isn't ready to leave, and some lash out with bottles. Police respond with pepper spray and tear gas.
Here, do you want water? I didn't even do anything and they pepper sprayed me.
25 firefighters are called in to put out the blazes. For every fan with a conscience,
I hate this. This is just stuff, but this is not the U.S. right now.
there's always another one like this.
I need more where that came from.
After 7 hours of pandemonium, police get control. 11 are arrested, 65 fires are put out, and the tab for all this destruction, over $250,000. It's a total mob scene on the streets of Manchester, England. And furious Scottish football fans are about to blow a fuse. Outrage over a malfunctioning flat-screen TV is about to trigger a full-scale riot. More than 100,000 crazed fans descend on the city to watch the All-English Championship finals. But only 13,000 have tickets for the game inside the stadium. Giant TV screens are set up around town. But when the TV signal goes down, the fans rise up in anger. Police are outnumbered and chased down the street, but one is not quick enough. He is brought down and beaten. He struggles back to his feet and runs for his life. At one point, the rioters go head-on against a row of police vans, but are thrown back again when cops come out swinging. In the end, 15 police are injured and 42 fans are arrested. A soccer game in Buenos Aires, Argentina explodes into violence. Fans of one team beat, punch, and kick their rivals. They even ripped the uniforms off some of the players. And this full-scale riot is about to take a deadly turn. In the last seconds of the game, angry fans invade the field. They grab the goalkeeper and rip off his shirt and his shorts. Then they steal his shoes as souvenirs. He's left walking away in his underwear. Another man takes a vicious beating. All he can do is dive through a hole in the fence into a crowd of supporters. The mob throw chairs and rocks, causing fans caught up in the violence to use their coats as shields. They wield metal pipes. They use a billboard as a battering ram. The police are hopelessly outnumbered, and one officer is punched in the face. One man is killed by a blow to the head, and 14 others are injured. Police make nearly 100 arrests before finally restoring order. Passions over soccer run just as high in Belgrade. Fans are setting fire to the stands. They're wielding flares, and they use them as firebombs to attack police. One undercover cop gets cornered by the firebombers. They beat him with a flare and even try to force it down his mouth. When other officers try to help him, they get attacked. Another cop gets bashed scattered by a man with a flare. The first undercover cop emerges from the fire and pulls his gun. He fires a warning shot. Fans scatter at the sound of the gunshot. Then, a line of police in riot gear move in to clear out the stadium. Later, one of the undercover cop's attackers will be convicted of attempted murder and sentenced to 10 years in prison.
Up next, release the hounds. A bloody riot over the right to fox hunt. Then, farmers plow through a police line. And later, firefighters in Phoenix try to put out a red-hot man raging on the roof. Next, on Riot, Rampage.
September 15th, 2004. A protest outside the Houses of Parliament in London is about to get ugly. A crowd of 20,000 is outraged over a vote to ban fox hunting. Simon Hart and his Countryside Alliance help organize the demonstration.
We wanted to make a large public statement that good, reasonable people were having their hard-earned liberties removed without their consent.
The protest draws people from across Britain.
They were not your average crowd of demonstrators. These were not football hooligans. These were people drawn from all age groups, all social classes, and all over Britain.
Restless demonstrators are eager to break through police barricades. When officers try to corral the crowds, protesters start pushing and police strike back.
The atmosphere got quite heated quite early. People were angry by now. People were having their patience tested. This was a bottling up of emotions and anger and frustration, and all it needed was a means of ignition. Once the first punch was thrown, who hit who was irrelevant.
Scuffles between police and protesters last for more than 5 hours. After riot police arrive with tear gas, the violent clash is finally over. The confrontation leaves several bloody protesters staggering in the streets.
I wasn't even demonstrating. A policeman did this to me. A policeman.
16 people are taken into custody, and nearly 24 people are injured.
Something had gone profoundly wrong. When people look at hunting, I think that generates huge emotions. I think people either love it or they loathe it.
It's mayhem on the streets of Guadalajara, Mexico, as farmers on tractors go up against baton-wielding police. At least 30 farmers are demanding the government recognize their union and stop foreclosures on their farms. They're trying to drive onto a freeway and bring traffic to a standstill, but police are determined to stop them right here and now. The farmers arm themselves with sticks. Their ranks also include citizens who are chased down on foot and arrested. This man is an elected official called a federal deputy. He's badly beaten and arrested by plainclothes police. He survives with a fractured skull. In some cases, the tractors are too much for the police to control. But in the end, the farmers are forced to stand down and never make it onto the freeway.
It's man-to-man combat on the streets of Seoul, South Korea, as a protest march spins out of control. Former spies from the South Korean military are up in arms. They want back pay for years of service to their country. They face an overwhelming force. Hundreds of government troops determined to put an end to this protest. But these veterans aren't backing down. This man implores his allies to start using their knives on the soldiers. It looks deadly serious. But UC San Diego International Relations professor Stephen Haggard says there is often more than what meets the eye during street actions in South Korea.
The question is whether these commandos are trying to provoke the police or whether this has a kind of theatrical element where really what you're seeing is an effort to draw attention to the severity of their grievance.
The protesters are also armed with steel poles and with a surprise weapon, a propane tank, transformed into a flamethrower. It's a risky tactic. If any shots are fired and the tank is hit or punctured, it could explode and send deadly shrapnel flying. The veterans also attack with a Molotov cocktail, igniting the street. Government troops back off from the flames, but then go on the attack with water hoses. The determined veterans fight back, this time in close quarters with poles and clubs. Finally, the protesters are boxed in and negotiate a surrender.
Coming up, mall madness. A woman is trampled in a shopping stampede. Then, a man fighting police on top of a two-story house is shot with a taser and falls off the roof. Next, on Riot, Rampage. Giant outside Grand Rapids, Michigan. The day after Thanksgiving 2005, Black Friday. 150 stampeding customers trampled each other.
When people started falling to the ground and no one was helping them to get up, that's when the shock set in for me.
TV news cameraman Dave Limbaugh is supposed to be covering a lighthearted feature story. Instead, he records a human tidal wave.
It just kind of was like a domino effect.
One woman falls to the ground and loses her wig. Her husband tries desperately to protect her from the mob.
He was pushing her back with one hand and trying to help her up with another hand.
But as the man pushes people away from his wife, it creates more chaos.
One person falls, and then the other ones who can't step around end up falling over that person.
The woman is hurt and upset. Firefighters James Walker and Jeff Frashett are dispatched to the store.
We were woken up very early in the morning to respond to a call where there was this trampling. We didn't really know what to expect.
They transport the woman to the hospital where she's treated for a knee injury. 2 people suffered minor injuries on this Black Friday. It's the middle of the night in Phoenix, Arizona. But this man on the roof has the neighborhood wide awake as he keeps cops and firefighters baffled and running for cover. Lieutenant Jackie McConnell says it may be the most bizarre call she's ever responded to.
It was definitely an unusual type of call. I felt somewhat helpless because there really was not a lot that we, as patrol officers with the tools that we have, could do with this subject.
Police believe the man is under the influence of drugs and alcohol. He climbs to the top of this 2-story condominium and starts setting small fires on the roof. Firefighters arrive and try to knock down the flames and the suspect with water. But the man drives them off by throwing heavy ceramic roof tiles.
He was throwing these things with some pretty good effort at officers, at citizens, at firefighters. This is a 10-pound tile flying through the air, gaining momentum. Obviously, that could do some pretty good damage if it hits somebody, especially if it hits somebody directly.
A SWAT team is called in. Officer Christopher Ray knows this call has an added element of danger.
Anytime you go onto a roof, it becomes a hazard to not only to the suspect, to officers also. We wouldn't want anybody to fall off, obviously.
Firefighters plan to distract the suspect by hosing him down at a far corner of the roof, while the SWAT team climbs up a ladder at the upper end.
He looked like he was going to fight it out with the bitter end with us and did not want to come off that roof.
Even with guns pointed at him, the suspect wields a metal bar and ignores orders to surrender. He's hit with several rubber bullets, but they have no effect.
They're basically just hard plastic. When you get by one of these, I mean, it hurts. It'll definitely knock the wind out of you. Basically, the impact is like getting hit with a really fast golf ball or with a really fast baseball.
Then, the team tries to take him down with 50,000 volts from a taser gun. It works, but not the way they hope. The stunned suspect takes one step and falls off the roof. Officers run to grab him, but are stunned themselves when they see what's happening on the ground.
When I looked down onto the yard below, he was already up on his feet running away.
But a block away, he is brought down by a police dog.
The canine was able to catch him and bit him, which stopped this whole incident.
It can happen with one angry driver or two biker gangs gone berserk. It's the ugly face of hate in small-town America and the fist of evil at the holiest place on earth. When human emotions run wild, there's no escaping